After it being canceled, then being a virtual conference, we're back in 2022 in Greenville, North Carolina, April 6th through 10th, with this year's theme of the conference, Resilience Through Resistance. Welcome to Medium is the Message, the official podcast of the Southern States Communication Association, whose purpose is to promote the study, criticism, research, teaching, and application of artistic, humanistic, and scientific principles of communication, a non-for-profit organization existing for educational, scientific, and literary purposes only. Glad you could join us. I'm your host, Dave Nelson. And if you'd like to contact anyone at the association about anything, for example, maybe our podcast, check us out at www.ssca.net, which has links to all our social media such as Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Here's some news from the association. To get the hotel rate for the conference, make sure you click the links provided at SSCA.net. And if you're staying at the Hyatt Regency, a shuttle service is provided, but you must make a reservation in advance by calling 864-235-1234, extension 25. Again, that number is 864-235-1234, extension 25. And if your school has not renewed its institutional membership yet, there's still time. Don't worry. Just contact Andrew Pyle, our Strategic Communication Director. And for those planners out there, after Greenville, Southern is going to be in St. Petersburg, Florida in 2023, Frisco, Texas in 2024, and then Norfolk, Virginia in 2025. That's all the news update for this episode. What do we have to look forward to this year in Greenville? Well, I talked to President Dr. Wendy Atkins-Sayre to find out what she'd been working on. I want to thank you for taking time to do this. I know everybody's schedule is crazy hectic right now, so I truly do appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And why I wanted you to take a little bit of your day today is to talk about what people should be expecting for Greenville. Last year was an online conference, which I think everybody's now gotten used to doing the Zoom thing, but I think a lot of people are getting anxious and probably missed a little bit of not having Southern. I know I did last year.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about do we have to do online again, but missing 2 years for an organization that's really about people, I think would have been very hard for us. And I luckily, I think the COVID numbers are looking better, and we're also going to make it as safe as possible by encouraging mask use, and I hear the hotel's pretty safe. So we're going to have some good alternatives. I think it'll be great. But Greenville, many people were at the last one, and but if you weren't, it is beautiful. And the conference happens right next to the river, and with a beautiful park next to it. So you can sit in on some panels and then jump out and enjoy nature. You're going to feel like you're not even going to feel like you're in the middle of a town, a city. But there's also great food. Even on the street where the hotel is, you will probably find dozens of restaurants and bars. So I think you'll be able to have a great time there and also see some fantastic panels.
Is it in the same hotel it was last time we were in Greenville, Wendy?
It is, yes. So if you were at that one, you will remember what it looks like. And it's actually a good setup. It has a nice big open central lobby with a bar in the middle. So it seems like everyone kind of hangs out as they do in that middle section, and you get to see everyone. It's a good setup. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a little bit different, but I'm looking forward to see some people I haven't seen in a while in the flesh instead of it through a computer screen.
Yes, I'm excited about that. I feel like the online conference last year was so much better than I was worried. It was much better than I thought originally it would be. And I had some really great feedback about it. But I think, again, having a second one online would be hard. So this will be great.
I know you've got some panels planned. You got one panel planned, and then you've got 2 professional development, I'm going to say seminars or panels. Can you tell us about them?
Yeah. So, of course, Tina Harris, that is putting together a fantastic program. But as president, I was able to put together a spotlight panel, and I'm really excited about it. It's revisiting last year's theme, which was Harboring Hope. And the title is Harboring Hope Still, because we're going to look at all the different ways that we have continued to try to communicate the message of hope, successfully or unsuccessfully, given everything that we've faced, not just this last year, but in recent years. And so I brought together a good variety of panelists. Dan Grano from University of North Carolina at Charlotte is one of the panelists. Andre Johnson at University of Memphis. Chandra Maldonado from Campbell University, and Sam Perry from Baylor University will be speaking on the topic. And then Belinda Stillion-Southard is, I hope I didn't just butcher her name, but from University of Georgia is the respondent. So I think it'll be a great conversation. And then the professional development panels, it's not that Southern hadn't had panels like this before, but last year we made a point to create some of those, and we wanted to keep going with that this year. So we'll have two. One will be on publishing, and we'll bring together some really accomplished scholars. Some of them have been or are currently editors of journals or book series, and others have published extensively. So they're going to talk about that. And then the second panel is about leadership in general. Anyone who might be considering a leadership position. And some of that is self-serving. We hope to get more people to see themselves in a leadership role at Southern. So that'll be, I'm sure, one topic that we'll talk about. But then it could be leadership positions in other organizations on campus. So Roseanne Manzik from Texas State University, Vicki Gallagher from North Carolina State University, and Ronald Jackson from University of Cincinnati will be on that panel, with Pam Borland Davis as a chair, and I'm sure she'll jump in too because she has lots of leadership experience.
I think that's how both of those sound super great. I think both of those, there's definitely a great audience for it. I think they're both helping answering a need, and those aren't going to be scheduled at the same time, are they?
No, they will not be. So hopefully we'll have big audiences for both of those, or all three.
Most definitely. Kind of wind up you and I talking about what's going on at this year's conference. Can you think of anything people need to think about as they're preparing for it, and then when they're at the conference itself?
Well, obviously plan to be careful, bring your mask, bring whatever you've been doing in 2020 and 2021. We'll continue to do that at the conference. There are going to be, I know Tina will talk about this, but there will be some offsite panels and that are connected to the area. And I think she's spotlighting it so that everyone can go. So, bring some walking shoes. It won't be a long walk, but still we'll be going outside at some cases. I know I'm on a panel that looks at
booze.
Yeah, right. You're on it as well, aren't you?
I'm moderating that panel. So.
Oh, you okay? Yeah. So alcohol in the South, some sort. I'm Ashley Stokes and I, my co-author, will be talking about moonshine this time. So, but we are gonna talk about that in the hotel. But I think that they are also planning something offsite, so that we can experience the rhetoric that we're talking about.
Definitely that, it plays a role in what goes on in the South and in the history of the South. So it's definitely, I'm looking forward to that, Pat. I was excited when that got proposed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we can always kind of laugh about it, but I mean, a lot of my scholarship is on food in the South and the importance of it and the role that it plays. So absolutely, I'm in the thick of it with moonshine history right now, and there are so many stories to be told there.
Well, I when we get there, I'll have to tell you about my recent moonshine story. So
good.
So cool. Well, thank you so much for taking time to do this, and I'm really I think this is probably the most excited I've been about a conference in a while. I think it's just because I've been sitting at home and been sitting at my computer screen for conferences. So I think
yeah, I love it. I'm glad that you're excited, and I hope others are getting excited about making the trip.
Not only has Wendy been working hard behind the scenes, so has Tina Harris, this year's first vice president and convention planner, who let me know what she'd been working on. How you doing, Dr. Harris?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am doing great. Thank you for taking time to talk about what everybody is excited, at least I'm excited about it, and I'm hoping everybody's excited about it, is we're actually not doing a virtual, but it's going to be face-to-face in Greenville this year.
Yes, it is, and I'm excited as well.
What are some big things that you've been planning, and as the planner, you've seen everything behind the curtain, so to speak. What are some exciting points that people should be thinking about, or what are you excited about?
Oh, there's so many things I'm excited about. First of all, I'm excited about seeing friends and colleagues that I haven't been able to see in person for quite a while. Zoom has been a good substitute, but it's not enough. So I'm looking forward to seeing everyone. I'm hoping that I can recognize people with their masks on. So I've got to study their eyes to make sure I'm greeting the right person. But I'm looking forward to not only being in person, but just coming together and just celebrating the communication field. And as the title of the theme for the conference, which is resilience through resistance, I'm hoping that this will help us come together and just really reflect that in its truest sense. And what I mean by that is, we have all been through a lot over the last 2 years, and we're still dealing with a lot. And to make it through the many obstacles that we've made it through, but we've had to been stalwart and reflect resilience. And this is a time for us to come together and celebrate that. I am particularly excited about several of the panels that are spotlight panels that I'm able to sponsor this year. This was a very exciting opportunity for me. Some of the panels include UHC Alumni Reunion Panel, the Resilience and Practicality of Scholarship. And so essentially what we're doing is bringing together alumni who participated in UHC or the Undergraduate Honors Conference sometime in the past, and for us to just come together and reflect on how important it was for us to be a part of UHC whenever we were. The very first conference I ever attended was at SSCA in the honors in UHC, and I had no idea about presenting conference papers. I didn't know anything about this world at all, and my then undergraduate advisor was Roxanne Parrott, so shout out to Roxanne. But she recommended that I submit a paper, from her comm theory class to the division, and it was accepted. I was excited about it, even though I didn't know what I was going to face. I got a $50 honorarium from the department to participate. So back then I thought it was a whole lot of money. It might seem like a lot now these days, but it is. I was able to attend, and I think it was in Alabama at the time. And ever since then, it's just been a wonderful opportunity for me to come back. And so that's why I wanted to do this alumni panel. There have been some done in the past, but I'm glad that I'm now able to be a part of that and just reach out to other people to come and engage. There's also another panel called This Land is Their Land, the issue of land acknowledgement, history, social justice, and identity politics. That's going to be featuring a number of faculty panelists from Furman University, and there are a couple of others who are going to be speaking about land acknowledgement for South Carolina and what that means. Does this mean that it's essentially empty words acknowledging that this land was taken from the native peoples, and in this case for South Carolina, it is the Cherokees. And so I'm excited about that panel because it's really dealing with local history, social justice, and identity politics, which are multiple areas of research interest and humanity issues that I'm interested in as well. There's also the panel titled Greenville's Racist and Reparative Landscape. And so this is going to address the state's Heritage Act and the visual rhetoric and racial injustice as it relates to the monument of the Confederate, or the Confederate monument that's downtown. And so we're looking at visual rhetoric from that standpoint. And I'm looking forward to having several faculty from Furman University, University of Cincinnati, Alabama, State University, and University of North Carolina featured on that panel. And a couple of two more that I'm going to mention, and then everyone can look forward to perusing the program, is the panel titled Extending the Reach of Resilience, Regionalizing the Black Caucus, the SSCA edition. I'm very excited about that panel because I, believe that it is past time, for us as an organization to really think about inclusivity on a much deeper and proactive, as well as an intentional level. I identify as a Black woman. I've been a member of SSCA for many, many years. And lately, it's just been an issue for us to be much more inclusive. Not that we've been purposely exclusive, but I want us to become an organization where people from different racial, ethnic, cultural, and sexual backgrounds, can feel that this is a space for me to come and celebrate my research. And so that's why many of these spotlight panels that they do deal with inclusivity in one way or another. And so I'm excited about that and just coming together and just seeing everybody after 2 years of being holed up and masked up.
It's going to be really important that everybody's name tag is facing the right way. I know it always turns around when you're walking around the conference. And
indeed,
it seems like just as I did, you got bit by the Southern bug early, just because the way the organization runs itself and sets itself up and supports people in so many ways. That's super exciting to hear.
Oh yes, and I even believe that if I were to go up north, which I will not do, it's too cold. I'll still be associated with SSCA.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. That happened when my first job out. I was teaching up north. I still made sure that I made room on my schedule to attend Southern. And I'm excited to see what those that did the undergraduate conference and what they have to say. So that's super exciting. And I think that brings about the whole thing is like fostering young scholars and getting them engaged. Yes. And I think it's super important to the association. As I heard your story there, I totally I see a lot of similarities as you get sucked into it and you keep going. You don't want to say what year you came, but you I guess my state was like, how does everybody know everybody here? And then a few years go by, and then you're one of those people that knows everybody. So that it's exciting, and it's exciting to see young people taking part and getting leadership roles and participating in panels. So thank you for doing all that work. Any final thoughts you want to leave everybody with about the conference?
Well, I just want to thank everyone for doing all that they have done to make this a success. And I'm saying that preemptively because I'm going to believe and manifest a successful conference. Initially, when the submissions were coming in, the deadline, I believe, was October 1st at midnight Central Standard Time. And I was waiting with bated breath because I thought, I hope that us not getting together for the last 2 years is not going to be a deterrent for people. At the beginning of the week, I think I might have had maybe 38 submissions, and I was biting my nails and was very concerned that we were not going to have enough. And I did not want the conference to fail, period. And I definitely did not want it to fail on my watch. And so I'm sitting there, nearly every day, going to the submission website, looking at the number of submissions like a ticker tape. And I'm like, oh my goodness, what are the numbers looking like? And by the deadline, we had, I would say, ultimately we wound up having about 389 submissions.
I was going to say, Tina, students wait to the last minute.
Yes, I know. But there are faculty, too, they're involved. But we also wait to the last minute, too, because we're so pulled in many directions. But yes, I breathe a sigh of relief. And I'm just excited about just everybody coming together. And I'm hoping that people will just think about branching out and going to support a division that is not their own, maybe ones they're not affiliated with, so that we can just have support across the board. Because I think there are marginalized experiences and realities, et cetera, that are being celebrated in our research, and we need to be supportive of that. And I do also want to note that there has been a proposal for, and I'm excited that we will be able to soon say that we have 2 new divisions. One division is the Health Communication Division, and the other division is going to be I want to get the name right, but I would have to search my email, but it's related to social justice. And I'm very excited to see that those 2 are going to be on the horizon, and hopefully that will be a catalyst for us to have other divisions that can be born that represent the breadth of our field. So I'm just excited about every aspect of us coming together and being able to celebrate scholarship, meeting new people, encouraging each other, and just coming together and having a great time.
Not only is there planning for the conference itself, but there's a conference within a conference. The Undergraduate Honors Conference, which the second Vice President, Ann Burnett's been working hard on this year. I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to sit and talk to me about coming up for this year's Southern and the undergrad conference.
Yes. Oh, thank you. It's my pleasure. We're very excited to be back and to be gathering in Greenville.
Oh, everybody I've talked to so far, and that includes myself, is excited to actually have Southern face-to-face. Obviously, for practical reasons, it was virtual last year, but I think one of the big draws about Southern is seeing everybody, and then seeing the scholarship, and then, and there's the social bit that we all enjoy.
Yes, I agree. And with the undergraduate scholars who will be coming to participate in the Theodore Clevenger Undergraduate Honors Conference, it's going to be a great opportunity for them to meet other undergraduate scholars as well as more experienced scholars. We're very excited. We had a lot of submissions this year, and we will have 13 panels of undergraduate honors conference papers. And we had submissions on topics ranging from political communication to media phenomena to social media phenomena, interpersonal communication, questions about communication and the COVID pandemic. So we've got a lot of really interesting, very compelling scholarship that undergraduates are doing, and we're very glad that they'll be able to come to Greenville and present their scholarship in person.
As you were planning this, I think Southern does a really good job of bringing in young scholars, but in your own words, how do you see Southern's role in kind of mentoring, showing off? I don't know the right words to talk about its role it plays within undergraduate research. That'd probably be the easier way to say it.
Yeah. Well, I think it does all of those things. It does present a chance for undergraduate scholars to show off what they've done. These projects reflect a lot of work, and I think people will be really impressed by what these scholars have done and what they're going to be sharing with us at the conference. This conference, within the conference, the Undergraduate Honors Conference also creates a great opportunity for mentorship. With all of the panels, we will have chairs and also respondents who are more senior scholars, and they'll be able to give the participants in the UHC good feedback on their presentations and on their ideas. And so that's one way that SSCA provides that kind of mentorship for younger scholars. There's also going to be an alumni panel, alumni of the Undergraduate Honors Conference. And so keep your eyes open for that in the schedule. It will feature people who got their start in the Undergraduate Honors Conference who came back to do this panel. And so it will be a very interesting opportunity to see how people took that experience from the Undergraduate Honors Conference and how that affected them as they went forward in their academic careers. So I think we've got a lot of great opportunities for the undergraduates to come together, to meet one another, to meet other scholars in the discipline, to just have the experience of going to a conference, learning what that's like, having the opportunity to do it and to know that they can do it. I think that really sets them up for decisions that they might want to make down the road about doing more within the academic tradition.
I know it makes me sound like a fanboy every time I say this and I just gush about the association, but I think that's really cool, awesome. I could think of some hyperbole and adjectives that you see people giving back to the association and coming back to the conference, that they had that great of experience that they're willing to go, yeah, I'll come back and do a panel at the undergraduate. So that's cool. I mean, I'm probably going to go see that one. I could probably learn something from going to that panel.
Yeah, I think so too. It'll be a lot of fun. And you know what you're talking about, the impulse that everyone in the association, this has been my experience too, the concern that they have for everyone else in the association, for younger scholars. I just think it's one of the things that makes Southern, I always say I consider it my intellectual home. I just feel so at home when I'm at the conference and when I'm dealing, even with people I haven't met. We share this commitment to scholarship and to excellence, and also to supporting other people who are doing their scholarship. That was my experience planning the conference. When I sent out the call to ask for scholars who would review this work, I was overwhelmed with responses. And so the undergraduate students who are going to be participating in the Clevenger Undergraduate Honors Conference have already gotten feedback from people in the discipline about their ideas and their presentation of the ideas and where they can take their research next.
And I'm sure we'll be seeing you bobbing in and out throughout the whole, I mean, not only for the whole conference, but definitely during the undergraduate honors conference there. So that's super exciting. And I look forward to seeing you there in the flesh and just chatting with you.
Great. I look forward to seeing you too. And I'm very excited about welcoming these undergraduate scholars and seeing them participate and get in the mix with SSCA and with our teaching and our learning of communication.
As we're kind of winding down here, what would your pitch line be for, say, hey, I didn't get any students to submit anything this year. What do you think of, like, any faculty, instructors, I don't know, anybody out there at the institution? What would you say to, like, get them to motivate students to submit for next year's Southern Conference?
Oh, that's a great question, and that's a great way to be thinking now. Next year's conference, that will be the conference that I'm planning, will be in St. Petersburg, Florida. So it's known as the Sunshine City. So come on down, experience the great sunshine in Florida. But I would tell instructors to share with their students just how fulfilling this experience can be. It's exciting. It gives the participants an opportunity to test their ideas, to find an audience for their ideas, and also to meet and even network with other scholars, people who are going to have interests who might be similar to yours, and people also who will have interests that are very different from yours that you might find very interesting and very compelling. So it's a great opportunity for undergraduate students to have the experience of going to a convention, of presenting work along with other undergraduate students, and getting very serious and supportive feedback of that work.
Any final words?
I'm just very much looking forward to being back in Greenville and to seeing all of the people that I've met over the years at Southern, as well as meeting new people coming into the field or new people coming into Southern. I think we're going to have a great time, and I look forward to seeing everyone.
I want to thank Wendy, Tina, and Ann for taking time out and let me know what we get to look forward to. And I hope you look at the schedule and block out some times and check out some of those spotlight panels and go and support those undergraduate researchers. There's some really exciting research going on. The last couple of years have been really challenging for the association. One, having to cancel a conference and deal with everything behind the scenes, and then take it virtually into the online world and deal with all of that, and now bringing it back to face-to-face. And then on top of that, hearing the news with the loss of Shawn and Charles Tardy. I talked with those who worked and knew Shawn and Chuck to help celebrate and acknowledge who they were as people, as scholars, as mentors, and why they'll be missed. And I want to thank, in no particular order, those that took time out to celebrate these two individuals. Wendy Atkins-Sayre from the University of Memphis, Tina Harris from Louisiana State University, Dan Grano from the University of North Carolina, Charlotte, John Meyer, Katie Anthony, both from the University of Southern Mississippi.
Chuck was my department chair. Oddly enough, he was the department chair for me when I was an undergraduate student, and then he was also the department chair when I came back as a faculty member. So I think he spanned, I don't want to say it wrong, I think maybe 16 years as department chair. And in that time, so I started off, like I said, as a student, and he was so encouraging. I don't know that it's very common for undergraduates to really get to know their department chairs very well. I know that typically that person's in a position where they're busy all the time. They have such a heavy administrative load. But I got to meet Chuck Tardy through Dr. Richard Conville, who introduced him to me and told Chuck that I was thinking about graduate school. And so Chuck started looking at some of my work. I then took a class with Chuck on nonverbal communication, and Chuck was just really encouraging about providing me insight for applying to graduate school, what types of things I should say, where I should apply for my interest dealing with health communication. He helped me make some really nice connections in the field, I'm sure in part because of all of the wonderful connections he made through Southern State. So he was a really fantastic mentor to me as an undergraduate student. And that honestly continued even while I was in graduate school. He would still check in with me and keep me updated on the department and, inquire about my life because he did truly care about his students. So he consistently served as a mentor for me throughout my student career and then my faculty career as well.
I mean, Chuck Tardy, I say it, and I always have to tell the longer story, which I won't do here today, but I mean, he really changed my life. He was chair at University of Southern Mississippi and, found out that I was running a speaking center at a different institution and convinced me to apply. And there I started my career, and I'm so fortunate to have worked with him for about 10 years while I was there. He was a great chair because he was such an optimist. And in fact, we would often, I wouldn't say bump heads, but we would have very different outlooks on the world because he was the optimist, I was the pessimist, and somewhere in the middle, we would meet. And so I think that's an important characteristic. I try to channel his optimism when I can.
You asked for a moment, but this is going to be more of a compilation of moments. I mean, every time there was a conference, so whether it was NCA or Southern State, and I'll be honest, I didn't get involved in Southern State till later in my time as a graduate school, which I regret, but it would be so sweet. I would, go to present at a conference. I knew that the Southern Miss crew was there, but I was a Kentucky student, and I would look out, especially, I guess the first time this happened was NCA 2009 when it was in Chicago. And I looked out in the crowd and saw Chuck, who had come and found me on the program and come to my schedule or come to my presentation. And then I was able to catch up with him and some of the other faculty, like John Meyer later at the conference. But it was just kind. It was like even though you're not a student of mine anymore, I still consider you to be that, and I'm still going to support you in your academic endeavors. And so, I would consistently get invitations to the Southern Miss gatherings at conferences, and that may seem like a small thing, but it was just those little touch points that allowed me to realize that Chuck was still monitoring even from a distance, still kind of paying attention to me, making sure I was doing what I needed to be doing. And then when the faculty position came open at Southern Miss, that we hired for a couple of lines that year in 2014, he reached out to me and said, I don't know if you have any interest in this, but we would at least love the opportunity for you to interview and for us to consider your application and see how well you would fit as a faculty member. And then the rest is history. So like I said, I credit Chuck with a lot of my professional successes in that he just was there and he was an ear to listen to. And when I asked for guidance, he gave it. And so I'm very much, like I said, all throughout my career, I can look back and see where he was very present.
How to treat other people in the context of what we do. Now that I'm a brand new department chair, and I've been in our program for almost 20 years. I've built a lot of close relationships here, and I feel like the closeness of those relationships has a lot to do with what Shawn modeled for all of us here and what he modeled for me. And there are subtle ways of navigating the dual roles that we sometimes play in departments where we become close to people and we also have professional relationships. And the things that work well in any interpersonal relationship in some ways work well in these settings, but there are differences. The meaningfulness of being present and the meaningfulness of being supportive is a difficult balance sometimes in what we do. And Shawn really taught by example how to pull that off.
He's the kind of person who is a leader. He's a mentor. At the time, I was able to update him on some professional development or developments professionally that were happening, with me, which he was very, pivotal in, helping me with. At the time, I was at the University of Georgia on faculty. I was a professor there, had been there at that point for 21 years. And I was literally in the process of signing my letter of offer to join the faculty at the Manship School of Mass Communication here at Louisiana State University. Prior to that day, or I would say that fall of 2018, I was, seeking counsel, from some of my colleagues who are really, 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 dear friends of mine who I knew I could trust with giving me advice on how to, go experience this process. I'm an endowed chair here, and I wanted to know, what are some things that I can bring here to Louisiana? What can I do to edify myself as both a scholar and as a person? And how can I do this and do it right? And above all, how can I do this to ensure that I would ultimately be a blessing to other people as well as a blessing to LSU and the communication discipline? And Shawn was great at giving ideas. I would run my ideas past him. He would give me some advice, and I was just really, really grateful to him for not only helping me navigate that experience, which was an amazing experience because it has brought me to a place in my career where I'm very proud and I'm excited and still have. I see myself having many, many years ahead of me. But that just kind of tells you what kind of person he is. He was selfless. He would share ideas with you. I don't believe he ever thought that, oh my goodness, now somebody's going to take something from me. But he helped me to articulate the change that I wanted to see and be. And another time that one thing that tied us together was the fact that we both are alum from the University of Kentucky, from the School of Communication. And even though he graduated, a few years behind me, we have that in common. But more importantly, you would also think that even because he graduated before me and I am a little more seasoned than him in terms of the number of years in the field, he had a wealth of experiences that were of benefit to other people, that he could mentor anybody. And so I would go to him and I'm like, how do I handle this situation? Not just my transition here to LSU, but difficult situations in the field or in my department or whatever I was dealing with. As a scholar, as a person, as a Black woman, as a Black person, and just as a friend.
They were great departmental organizational citizens. They were the kind, it was they both were the kind of person who would come up with an idea and then volunteer to do that thing, rather than just looking for the next person to do it, to take action. And I think that's how Southern thrives. We definitely have to have good volunteers who are passionate about the organization. And we are lucky to have so many people, including Shawn and Chuck. They were, very vital to the organization growing and being strengthened.
Well, several of us have remarked that when we're at conferences over the last few years, when he could no longer come, we have constantly found ourselves looking for him as we round corners or heading down the halls or coming out of panels. So I guess one word for Chuck at SSCA was ubiquitous. He was everywhere. He was all around. He was going to lunch with people. He was in business meetings. And I think that just speaks to how much he valued SSCA as a professional family, even more so along with the work that he did for the association, just the fact that he enjoyed it so much and was always around and fun to talk to. And he could be scholarly, he could be fun, just chatting about the town we were in. It was just a wonderful colleague.
He updated the association in many ways that we will benefit from going forward, including the virtual process, digital process for submissions, and the kinds of presidential spotlight panels that he organized, the way that he performed the role of vice president and president. There are a number of things he did for the association that we will benefit from now on.
Wow, with Chuck, I would say he's a family man. even in spite of, his work hours I've mentioned, he always made time for family. They did things together. His interest in soccer extended to his kids, because I remember us having conversations about kids' soccer, and so he was very involved in their lives. So I think he took his family man, valuing relationships persona, and took that, of course, into his scholarship on interpersonal communication, but also into his life in the department here at USM and in SSCA. They were families to him too. So definitely he'd be a family man and a man in search of quality interpersonal relationships that he treasured in life.
I am just thinking about the last time I saw him in person, which was at that was in 2019. That was the 2019 conference, and I was leaving the hotel to go to registration, or I forget exactly what it was, but I was leaving my hotel, which was across the street from a restaurant that was in the same strip as the main hotel. And as I was walking by, I heard, "Tina Harris, what's up?" And I was like, that has to be Shawn. And sure enough, I looked over there, and it was Shawn sitting there with a person whose name I forget, but he was just full of joy. This was always I share this because it epitomizes who he was, as a person. He was very excited to see me. He always made everyone feel as though they were the most important in the person in the world to him. And I was like, oh my gosh! I stopped what I was doing. I sat down and chatted with him, and then I told him I was going to run and go do something else. And then I came back and had dinner with him and the other person, which was great. And that just kind of symbolizes who he is.
Well, I would say, just as places I walk around here at Southern Miss, whenever I'm walking around at SSCA conventions, I'll feel his presence still with us, just having had such a great influence on so many people during his years at SSCA.
Yeah, you know what? At the risk of being sentimental, I would use the word beautiful. He was a beautiful person. Again, I want to thank everybody who took time out to talk about and share their stories about Shawn and Chuck as in the role that they played in their lives. I would also like to thank everyone who made this podcast possible at Southern States. Also, undergraduate honors conference breakfast sponsors and this year's institutional members. And remember, there's still time to get that membership in. Just contact Andrew Pyle. And this year's institutional members so far are Miami University, Virginia Tech, Sam Houston State, Missouri State, University of Georgia, University of Memphis, Middle Tennessee State University, University of South Carolina Aiken, University of Arkansas, Clemson, College of Charleston, University of Montevallo, and Valdosta State University. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, or suggestions, please feel free to reach out through any of the Southern State Communication Association's social media outlets, which can be found at ssca.net. Till next time.
I just want to tell people to make sure that you come to the conference, come ready to attend these panels, to celebrate a reunion of sorts. I guess we could see it as a reunion because we are coming together once again after being holed up. Make sure that we all are masking up and just taking care of ourselves as much as possible, and just come ready to have a good time and to support all the work that everyone has done, not just me, not just me or the other officers, but each other, because we have spent a lot of time, money, energy, and effort to make this happen, not just in coordinating the conference itself, but submitting the work. Without the work, there would be no conference. So thank everybody for doing their part, and I look forward to seeing you all very soon.